All right, I'm going to jump into describing, I'll tell you about, before we get started, I represent an organization, the organization that's sponsoring this or hosting it, putting it back on, Gris Literatura, or you can pronounce it Gris Literatura or Gris Literatura. It's actually spelt the same way, it means the same thing in 3 different languages. There's a weird story about how I came up with the name, how we came up with the name, but I won't go through that. But yes, it's in French, Italian, and Spanish. It's all spelt the same. For some reason, I always go with the French pronunciation, probably because that's the least obvious. So, Gris Literatura, what we do is we're a new nonprofit literary organization. We're incorporated last year, right before lockdown, like days before lockdown. So really good timing. And we are all about expanding the community for poetry, both locally and now due to the wonder of Zoom, we can do that globally as well. We do that by trying to we do that by making the resources necessary for supporting poetry more accessible to both not only poets, but also people interested in poetry, lovers of poetry, people who think, I probably would like poetry, but I just don't know where to start. I feel uncomfortable going to a reading because I don't know anything about poetry, that kind of thing. And then also for actual poets and writers too. We make these accessible by making them by hosting classes and events such as this that are affordable. When we get back to actually hosting on-site readings, we will always have an open mic and the readings will always be free. Our workshops, we run 2 workshops, writing workshops a month, and those are free. And you can find out about all of these things when I share my screen and show you the website. If I, here's my share screen thing right here. And here we go. Here's our website. It is Gris or grisliteratura.com. And on this site, you will find a calendar, which will have all of the things that are going on for that month. This is the January one with all the places to get tickets and such, right there. And I will say that we have 2 things coming up soon. We have a Masters of Poetry class. This one will be on February 3rd, and that's on Claudia Rankin. Katie Benigno runs that. It is a chance to really learn about a poet, get deep into their work and do some reading of it, and even try your hand at doing some of the things that that poet had done. And of course, Claudia Rankin's very interesting in that she works in hybrid genres quite a bit. So, that I find that very fascinating. So things like poetry, combinations of poetry and prose and visual art and essay. Then we have coming up on, I believe it is the 12th. No, it's on the 16th of February. We have coming up our second offering in our monthly formal poetry class. This past month, it was the Guzzle, and this is with LK. And our next one coming up is on the sonnet and the anti-sonnet, which I don't even know what that is. I assume that is probably everything that I've ever written is probably an anti-sonnet, because it's not a sonnet. So, so there you go. We will also be doing another one of these for February. That one, as I said, will be about hope amid crisis, or building a better future out of crisis. So, and we are a nonprofit. So we do have a donation button that we ask everybody to help us out with. Oh, important, I forgot the most important thing that we do. We pay poets. 100% of your ticket sales go to these fine people. And if you take a class, your enrollment goes directly to the teachers. So I have spent too long rambling on yet again, and I want to get down to reading some poetry. And I need to stop sharing. And there we go. Shall we go in sort of reverse order? Who wants to start first? What have you written in this time regarding, that speaks to you about healing?
I will go, because I feel like, David, that is cruel to say that it has to be written during a pandemic.
No, it doesn't have to.
Living in.
It can be something so long ago that you can. I'm sorry.
It's okay, I'm kidding.
Sorry, real quick, David, I think there's someone in the waiting room waiting to be admitted.
I just admitted somebody.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's, yeah, because I don't see anybody now.
Okay.
You admitted me, I think.
Yep.
Welcome.
Hello.
I'll still volunteer as tribute, if that's all right with my amazing co-panelists, co-roundtablists.
I appreciate all the Hunger Games references, because that's how the world feels now. So.
Right. The imagery is alive these days. And I also want to thank Lady Gaga for letting us wear red again. So I see my comments on the inauguration there, but yeah, so this has been a trip to try to write. So I'm going to share some fresher poems that I don't have a plan for what I'm going to read, but I'm going to set a timer. So yeah, it's exciting to read, because we, like Paula mentioned, haven't had opportunities to do that for so long. And I worry that I'm gonna get chatty. So just a quick second. There we go. Yeah. So in this pandemic, I have moved, but in the time that I have done that, I have tried to get more intentional about how and where I direct my energy. It's been language has come and gone, like other people have mentioned. And so I have made some really kick-ass collages. I have been doing a lot of sketching and working with markers and stuff, and it's helped me to kind of put a time map on stuff that is now a little bit long ago. You know, the memories aren't as ripe as they used to be. But when I was trying to write, I've been trying to write a series of poems, kind of exploring my queer cutie adolescence, because I know I was there in a lot of ways, but then I'm also just so aware of how different a moment it was. And you know, now young folks are coming out in a time when maybe some of us were finding ourselves, but then quickly stuffing that someone away that we found. I feel like that was my experience, but I had a lot of fun researching this first poem that I'm going to read because I guess the internet can be fun. In this time, we have such an ability to look things up, to find information, to scour for it. Some of that good, some of that ex-trolling. But I think this was an example of the good. So you'll hear a lot of words. Some of the words in this poem are actually real shoe titles from the late 90s. And I wrote a poem called B Team, in which I'm thinking about being a middle school B team basketball player. Your girl didn't have any skills. I did not have skills. What I was told was I had ball handling skills, which I think is nice for you're not really good at stuff on the court, but if no one's trying to get the ball away from you, you're not so bad. That was me. So to set the stage, I'll leave that there. So B Team. Benched, browsing, crinkled East Bay catalogs, subbed after a series. I carry too much. I guard. Here for the jokes and the Whopper Juniors. Near Nina in 98. Nice floor show. A technical. Timeout shook. A fragile colonial grasp. Gymnasium dungeon violation. Good game, good game, good game. The set shot clock, a shacknosis, an opus of layups, young mouths dripping with all-stars, squeaking out mid-court breaks, hustling down the ball, drenched with early teenage sweat and grape Gatorade. The great return, fouled out, bounced past, behind the back. Here lies Ahmad. He was jogging. He was from a near family. He had good form. Ahmad. Maybe he too thought of God or was asthmatic in disposition, run with shock. T-shirt wrinkled, bulging jersey, mesh covered, budding breasts. Not this fountain, cross block. My jump stop, cashmere soft. Not this fountain, it isn't for you.
Wow.
And so in this poem, I was thinking about how athleticism isn't an escape route. It has been painted that way for so many of us. I grew up in a rural area, other people growing up in cities, people that come from backgrounds that haven't traditionally gone to college. All that's also ingrained on this land, in this America that we live in. And I can't stop thinking about the ways that good form makes you feel like you're gonna get out of something. And yeah. I want to read another poem called, this poem is called Yes, Andrew, I will read the part of Tituba. Oh, that's my 5-minute timer. Okay. Yes, Andrew, I will read the part of Tituba. He said, then we can call you nigger in character and no one will get in trouble. And I ask you, describe exactly how we are supposed to inhabit each other. I was too worried about my sunglass hut crush to hear you while you drill my stripped throat, my evacuated mind pit for language. I didn't know what for, a thread, a sign. I was sloshing, exposed as a loss, my perimeter secured, my blind corners, deaf sights, buried, tin, Levy, thin night. Who was that dancing in the woods? And I will read one last poem called Spell Freedom. And this was an occasional poem that was actually written for the Twin Cities Pride magazine, and is thinking about Black August. So is thinking about our lineages in terms of maroonage and our Black and Indigenous, I include Indigenous folks in this, freedom fighters and our rich tradition there. Spell freedom. Keep your goodness conjured, your black swept, black breaking bullets of sweat, beating black drums, running down your back. A story of how we used to be together, swimming and not contained by form, your hands like a bulletproof vest, a safe, only not, so safe, only not. Still to rescue every poem you tried to write, you throw away your heart, an unbearable lover, a tight shoe, you sweet wine, maroon, the color of olives, a painting I'm scared of, red clovers, knives, how sharp their color, how they land, it's wrong, on the kill switch. If I ever transition, remember me, Lisa Maroon, bleeding, flower, penta, relief still hanging. If we do nothing but save ourselves, the spirits will be running around laughing. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That last bit with the spirits running around laughing sounds kind of like, it sounds scary, actually.
We got to get it together. I think it's meant to be scary.
I just had that.
We're watching, get it together. You got some work to do.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's part of that poetry of surveillance kind of thing, Paula, that the spirits are surveilling us. I don't know. Isela, what do you have? What have you been working on?
So typically I haven't written a lot of fiction. Well, I should say I haven't delved into it as much as I have CNF and poetry, but maybe about a year and a half ago started exploring it more. And that cohort that I mentioned that I was a part of this last year was specifically for folks looking to write youth literature, the broad world of youth literature. So it was definitely a learning experience for me because I was very new to writing in that space, in those worlds. And I ended up focusing on a series of short stories about different Mexican creatures or symbols. So, the coyote is one. We have obviously the eagle. We have rabbits, which I ate as a kid. And so when I moved to Minnesota and I see rabbits running around yards, I'm thinking, oh, that's soup. Very typical here. I haven't had it in years, but as a kid, that's something that I remember eating on Sundays. And anyway, one in particular that kept coming up for me was the image of the cockroach, which conjures up so many different feelings for folks, myself included. But I think most people know the jingle, La Cucaracha, right? Because it's so often reinvoked and appropriated into terrible imagery around Cinco de Mayo and what that does and doesn't mean. And for me, that song actually reminds me so much of my grandmother, who was this very quiet woman who had a really vulgar sense of humor when she did speak up. And before she died, she was often going back to singing some of the old school corridos, like corridos that I didn't even remember her singing, and different verses of La Cucaracha. So for folks who don't know it beyond the jingle, it's a corrido that goes back to the war 110 years ago. And there's so many verses that different communities throughout Mexico have integrated into that song based on their experience with the revolution. And so anyway, it's a very powerful image that I remember growing up with. And so when someone says cockroach or cucaracha to me, the first thing that I think of is that song and not the actual bug, which when I was actually doing research for this piece, and researching just the world of cockroaches, I found myself very sick because I was in Google searches with insects and images of cockroaches, which I didn't. But anyway, so it's not technically a poem, but oh well. It's about song, so I guess that kind of counts. This piece is called La Cucaracha. And I am going to copy Lisa and set a timer for myself, if I can figure out how to do it. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. La Cucaracha. La Leyenda had only had its name for a short while at that point, but it had always been there over the decades, the bar / restaurant / gathering place for anybody who's done so many names that people just often called it the wrong thing. Nos vemos en Don Pepe's. Don Pepe's, where's that? No, it's not Pepe's, it's called Lupe's now. Oh yeah, La Lupe's. Every couple years, or sometimes every 9 months, a new owner bought the place. Each time they had a vision for making it new, dressing it up, drawing in out-of-towners. Each time, about a month in, all that had stuck was the flashy sign out front. The new menu, gone. The new band on Friday nights, long gone. The new name, forgotten. The thing about this ever-transforming, but really never-changing spot, it had one thing that no other place had. Pancho and his dog Mayo. Which is why the viejos, the ones who had lived in town long enough to remember when the place was first built, would call the place Pancho Mayo's, before everything happened, of course. Pancho didn't own the place. How could he? He was a cockroach. And all he had to his name was a guitar and his dog. But Pancho played that guitar like nobody's business. And while he did it, he sang about everybody else's business. Their chisme, their secrets, the affairs and the corruption, the thefts and the not so accidental accidents. But nobody cared because Pancho changed the names of every story's cast. Angelina became Federica. Ruben became Rudolfo. Edith became Enriqueta, the most ancient of monikers, names he'd only heard of but never met. Every other day, Pancho rolled up on the stage in the corner by the patio, pulled out his instrument, and played, while Mayo kept his eyes on everybody in the vicinity. Corridos about Federica, the florist who turned out to be hiding from the government. Boleros about Rudolfo's involvement in the war. Canciones about Enriqueta's special ingredient in her famous guisado de rabbit. Everything to know about this town could be learned in a Pancho original, but only if you had the legend of names. Otherwise, they were all tales. Tall ones, but true ones. Whenever a patron recognized the plot of a new ballad, it meant only one thing. They were the protagonist. They were the one with the second family, or the one whose flower shop was just a front, or the one who did everything to keep everyone from finding out. There were two reasons people never confronted Pancho about his songs. One, fear. Confronting Pancho meant confirming the story was not only real, but about them. The last time someone marched up to Pancho with vengeance on the mind, Mayo bit the man's ankle before Pancho finished the second verse. In the chaos, Pancho sang the real name in Conidero del Panadero, a song about a baker with more than flour in his pantry. People never knew whether Pancho slipped up or if he did it on purpose. Nobody volunteered to figure it out. Two, pride. It was almost a badge of honor when someone heard their own personal shenanigans dramatized by the cockroach. It meant, among other things, they were famous. Everybody knew the songs, danced to them at weddings, belted them when drunk. Some school teachers even taught them, and not just in music class. The writing instructors used his songs to teach school children how to build a plot, how to create suspense, how to write complicated characters. Even some of the nuns at St. Bernard's incorporated a Pancho classic and lessons on good, evil, and gardening. You see, Pancho was born in the orange orchards, and so, along with all the scandalous numbers, he wrote the occasional tune about fruit. When cockroaches are born, or at least the family of cockroach from which Pancho comes, their mother cares for them for a short period. Pancho's mother was a dancer, the best in the orchard. So when Pancho fell sick, she'd turn on the radio and tap out her famous steps. The rhythm from her feet and the fuzzy stereo melody comforted him into rest. In his dreams, the lyrics came to life. Stories from the world outside the orchard now flashing in his sleep. As he grew, he'd fake a cough just so his mother would spend the day in music with him. She would dance and he would sing. Since their antenna had a spotty signal, Pancho grew accustomed to making up some of the words, adding a verse here and there. On the weekends, Pancho tagged along with his mother to the community center where she taught cha-cha to viejitos and ballroom to young couples. Nobody paid much attention to Pancho. It was easy to not notice him. When he wasn't singing with his mother at home, he was quiet. Thinking he couldn't speak, everyone thought it safe to share their gossip in his presence. Since he learned everything he knew by listening and communicated through song, the dance students' not so hushed whispers found their way into the first Pancho originals. When he debuted them for his mother, she cried before bursting in laughter. When he asked why the tears, she gave him this blessing. Stories, mijo, are like fruit. They hold entire worlds within them. Songs let us taste them. And the laugh, ma, because, mijo, I knew Doña Lidia's teeth were fake. Secrets don't make friends, but they do make good music.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I've been coming back to these creatures or symbols. I have the beginnings of one about a coyote and another one about a bear in Catholic school, which is really just me in Catholic school in kindergarten. But the cockroach was, I think, kept coming up for me because in its origins, the song was so much about commemorating stories and histories and also finding healing in a really trifling time, right? And just how do we share this, not just with our own children and with our own families, but this song just goes across generations and across communities and across states and across countries. And all of that has been lost in the way that La Cucaracha has been appropriated. And to the fact, to the point that people don't even hear the words anymore, it's just the jingle.
Right.
So yeah, that's been on my mind.
That's fantastic. Now, so is this a collection of short stories or vignettes that you're putting together?
The idea is that it will one day be, but
I would love to get that.
Yeah.
I love that story. And, you know, the rest of definitely the bear in school. I'd love to read that. No, that is fantastic. I love that idea of a song being like, you know, a fruit and the world inside the fruit. That's great.
I'm also very motivated by food, so.
Yes, it kind of fits back with what you had read earlier from Deb Holland. So, yeah. Paula, what do you have to share with us?
Okay. Let's see. Oh, also looking at the time. I do have some very short poems I've written during this time and a little show and tell. So this is the one sheet series of comics that I wrote about my 2 worst weeks. And I was just gonna share this. Okay, so I had to do one a day. And so the drawings were not like, Joe, don't look. But this, okay, so this is the day. I'm laughing right now, but this is the day I was driving to Bethesda COVID hospital to say goodbye to my mother through the street art from the uprising. And there was just this moment where like the drawing, but there was just this moment where I was parked at a red light next to this piece that just said emergencies need art. And I was just for this half tick of a moment so connected to everyone and felt so much less alone. I just wanted to share that one page because it feels very relevant to our conversation. Oh yeah, I'm a person who wears glasses. And then I'll do a little back and forth. This poem is called Rise Up. And it was written during a witchy poetry workshop where I was learning to scribe, like dump ink into water. But this is my experience of scribe. Like I tried 13 pens and the ink wouldn't come out of any of. Rise up. So many dried up pens, stubborn pens, secretly haunted pens filled with ghost ink while the white supremacists infiltrate the city's uprising. Hollow throat pens, lost voice pens, a bird fight interrupts, a meow and a purr. What you're afraid of is not so different from what I was afraid of, which I thought was nothing, which is everyone's death, documented in invisible ink. Oh yeah, so I learned how to make cartonera books, which is an Argentine tradition. And it's amazing, like oh my gosh. So it's basically like cardboard picking and then presses. It's become a global trend. You can do actual pages. I learned how to make them. This one looks like a little purse, but it flaps open with, so you can have a very quick, like I made extra when I couldn't, like I have a bunch of these that are blank if you need to paint anything for any future. I made one with, anyway, we'll talk about that one in the future. Anyway, you just need to like have a sign really quickly. It's very handy and I'll share. This one is called How's Your 2020? I hope you can see this okay when I didn't have any language. How's your 2020? Good to see.
Oh my God.
There's more. Can you see this at all?
Yes, yes.
A collage of screams.
The shark.
I guess that's the end. Sorry. Like I said, it's not great.
That's incredible.
To do. And then this is actually a collage of a lot of borrowed language. To someone I secretly love. In such a springtime, so much was growing, even as we didn't know we were dying. I love your face. I love your face so much. Even the hate-filled ones. Someone's love can deliver us from the hate-filled ones. Mama, mama, we must deliver ourselves. Are you saying that, or am I saying that, or is what's received eternally on repeat? My cat is eating right now, and I'm really like, she's a little smacky. I hope it's.
I'm not hearing anything.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Maybe I'll just read one more poem. And then this is just dream imagery. So, secrets the dandelions knew as they came bursting through the snow in my dream. I wasn't afraid, though they burst forth rapidly, tall as me, taller. I wanted to see what would happen, the taproots feeding off his love rot, yellow heads shouldering the cold out, the mess out, anything not medicine out, the way he was leaving me. I didn't know I knew. A dream blooming, I knew and wasn't afraid. I was thirsty for bitters, for the earth to swallow whole what choked me. I wasn't worried whether he'd like the wild garden no one asked for. I liked it. I was amazed, out of scale, in a state of wonder, which wants me ever faithful. Thanks.
Thank you. Oh. Now, those books, those are called, the Argentinian ones, they're called Caneras, is that right?
Cartonera.
Artenera, okay.
Like carton?
Cartonera. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, you've done quite a few of those, haven't you? Because I think I've 3, okay. I thought I saw more online that you've done. That's really cool. Joe, what have you been working on aside from, I mean, you've been working on a lot. So, I mean, personally, artistically.
Yeah, I think I can share just a couple of, I'll just show you just a couple of short pieces. This piece I actually did write after the pandemic, but just to like set the stage a little bit, I couldn't find the language either, y'all. Like, I'm right there with you. I was struggling for a really long time. Like I'm a full-time artist, and so like I'm been surviving in the gig economy for like, I don't know what's it been? I don't know, like 6-7 years now. And it's been really beautiful. I'm really grateful for it. But a lot of my stuff is like in person. And pre-COVID, I would like tour and I would travel. I would be all over the place. And then when so many things started shutting down, I started to freak out because I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. And I had like, my inbox was just flooded with cancellations, right? And
right.
And then I was distracting myself. I was like binging on Netflix and doom scrolling on my phone. Yeah, it's so easy to like get sucked into this endless spiral of anxiety and depression when you're like, I was just like on all the technology and distracting myself, not being present to what I was feeling in my body. But like, it was a really like definitive moment. It felt like it was a definitive moment. Maybe it wasn't as dramatic as it, like looking back, but I do distinctly remember one day, like just having a sense of, I need to stop like running away from myself and running away from what I'm feeling. And I turned off my phone, which I never do. I turned off my phone, put it down, sat on the edge of my bed and just listened to my body. And I noticed like there was this vibration in my chest. Like it was subtle. I had to be paying attention to it, but it was this vibration rising. I was like, that's a lot of anxiety, right? And then I listened closer, and then beneath that anxiety, there was a lot of depression and like just a deep, 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 heavy sorrow. And I allowed it to rise, and I just felt it, and it came into my eyes. And I'm gonna be real with y'all. I didn't want to cry, but I allowed myself to cry. I just gave myself over to that moment, to feeling what my body needed to feel. And I just wept. And I just wept and wept and wept. And it was this moment of healing release. And it wasn't until after that moment that I was able to write this piece that I want to share with y'all.
Oh,
It's
wow.
just a simple, just vulnerable, heartfelt poem called Questions in the Time of COVID. And one of my mentors told me, they said, if art proposes to have all the answers, it's not art, it's propaganda. And so I always like to ask questions. I think questions are invitational. And it's just this piece that I want to read for you all. I just came from that vulnerable place of questioning. Maybe some of y'all got the same questions, but this piece is called Questions in the Time of COVID. What am I holding that I need to keep holding? What am I holding that I need to let go of? What needs to stop and what needs to keep flowing? These are the questions I have in the time of COVID. What don't I know that I don't know? And what do I already know that I don't know I know yet? What doors are already closed? What doors need to be closing? What doors are already open that I didn't even see open? What seems to be glittering that isn't really golden? Am I an ocean in a drop or a drop in an ocean? And what am I putting my heart and my soul in? These are the questions I have in the time of COVID. Am I listening to the whispers of the words unspoken? Am I making the space in my body to feel my emotions? Why did it take me this long to call my family and close friends? And when will I be able to hold them close again? Do I believe everything that the media is showing? Can I walk outside just to feel the sunshine and wind blowing? And what can I do to keep my melanin popping and glowing? Without purpose or direction, does it matter where I'm going? These are the questions I have in the time of COVID. How am I coping? What is my hope in? What am I letting die? And what am I growing? Am I reaping the things from the seeds I've been sowing? Why do I miss the things I didn't know I'd miss? Can you please show me where my toilet paper and soap is? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Is my screen frozen? How can I send a remote hug or a remote kiss? Is this bogus? Am I the only one who can't eat, sleep, or focus? Who feels like I'm stuck in a dark place groping? What can I control and who controls this? These are the questions I have in the time of COVID. What can I do to support your local biz? Is everything canceled but my loans and rent? How can I send peace to families at home with kids? And what about all those experiencing homelessness? How can we care for those feeling depression or loneliness and let them know that they're not alone in this? Can this be a time to mend what is bent and broken? Can we give space to check our intentions and motives? Move slow enough to notice what we haven't yet noticed. Like the sacrifice of the workers who were so heroic, who show up and show love in a world so sick. When at last can the whole world rest? Some days I wonder, is there no end? Or can we start over again and keep going? Maybe our fear isn't as contagious as our hope is. These are the questions I have in the time of COVID.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that piece I wrote. Like, man, it was really early on. It was probably in March. I think about March, April timeframe was when I wrote that last year. It still feels relevant right now, if I'm being honest. So much of it. Yeah.
No, questions are still out there.
Right? Yeah, we're still trying to make it through. But hey, we gonna make it. We gonna be all right because we got each other. So yeah. I'll just share one more piece. I think a short piece. I like to share this piece. This is one of my favorite pieces to perform. This also came from just a really vulnerable place, but it's a piece that it's called Show Up. And so I'm wearing this Show Up hoodie right now. I don't know if y'all saw this. I gotta rep that, you know what I'm saying? But no, Show Up is something I talk about a lot. And it's a piece that I wrote, and it just speaks to the beauty and power of showing up unapologetically as your authentic self, whatever that looks like for you, right? It may look different each day, just showing up as your best self. Cause I know giving my best yesterday looks different than giving my best today. Sometimes it might be messy, it might be ugly, but hey, that's what you're bringing. And that's a beautiful thing. And so that's what this piece is about. I don't want to talk about it too much. I'll just put it out in the universe as an offering to you all. Thank y'all for showing up and being a part of this space. And I do want to shout out, this will be the last piece that I share, but I do want to shout out all y'all in the space, like particularly the poets and the writers, like I feel like y'all blessed me tonight. Like I've been fed. Like this feels like a healing circle right here, right now. So thank y'all for real. Like sincerely, thank y'all. Thank you, David, for hosting and facilitating.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's called Show Up. Just a little short piece. It goes like this. We've each been called to this place, this time and this season. We may not yet know the rhyme or the reason. We may not feel, think, or believe in the same things I believe in, but show up. Show up wherever you are from. You can come here to be free. Bring your full selves, both your head and your heart, your hands and your feet, and anything and everything infinitely beyond any duality or sexuality, gender, race, age, or ability. We all have the ability to be. Without you, I'm incomplete. Without you, there is no we. I need you not just to survive, but to thrive, to come fully awake and alive with potential and possibility. Join me at the table, for it is wide and there's lots of food to eat. So show up and be fed and feed others, satiating a different kind of hunger, fueling the fire in our bellies. No matter what journey you're on, where you've been, or what you've done, all will be well when we're all welcome to laugh, cry, dance, right, breathe, and bleed into the margins and follow the call to the frost reaches of who we are. Whether you run, walk, crawl, even if you fall, we fall in love. But just show up. Show up to answer our call to justice, to transform both the soul and the bodily world the soul inhabits. Show up with all your awkwardness and bad habits. Show up with your doubts and your questions, knowing here you can ask them. Show up with your wounds and your scars. We all have baggage, but know that together we can unpack it. This is no mistake. You're not here by accident. You are here to share the stories of your sacred passage. You are the only you that ever has been. You are not the magician. You are the magic. So show up to this place here where there is no grace period. There's only grace period. Bring your fears and insecurities. Let us marvel in the mystery. Let us listen to each other to life with a deep, holy listening. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? That's the sound of the genuine within you. The spirit stirring near you, but if you don't show up, how can anyone hear you? Show up, even if you don't know for certain. You may have the truth and healing for which this world is searching. In this grand universe, we are but small workers, but with a big purpose because of our hearts widening the circle, hearts that are broken, hearts that are open, so a little light can shine through, a little hope for the hopeless. Wherever you go, simply know the spirit of this place goes with you. So go, ready with sleeves rolled up, always growing, never fully grown up, ready with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, simply to show up. Thank y'all for showing up. That's that piece right there. Yeah. Much love, much love. Let's keep showing up for each other, y'all. That's it.
Thank you. I think that's a really good place to end the evening, actually. We're at the 9 o'clock point as it is. So I'd like to thank every one of our panelists, writers this evening, Paula and Joe and Lisa and Isela. Everybody give a hand. And thank you all very much for showing up for this. I hope that you got as much out of it as I feel I did. So we'll be doing this next month at some point. Check out the Gris Literatura website, and there's an events page and then the calendar page. Probably it'll be announced on the events page first. So we'll figure out a date and we'll have that posted there. Should be interesting. So the last one that we're going to do on the theme of crisis poetry will be on building a future out of crisis. So And with that, thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
Hi, thank you so much, David. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Much love and gratitude. Until next time, y'all. Peace.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh,
Good night.
all right.